Hi guys, welcome to chapter 5 of this video tutorial series. In this video, we'll be discussing about the basic DDL statements. We'll be continuing the discussion from the previous chapter and we'll discuss other DDL statements, for example, drop. And then we will start querying or writing queries using DML statements that are the most important statements when we talk about the development in SQL Server. So let's get started. So in the previous video, what we did was we used the create command in order to create tables and databases. We also used the SSMS feature of creating a table as well as database. So we'll be doing the same, but this time we'll be using the drop command and we'll be deleting the tables and databases. So let's see how it is done. So first of all, we will write the query in order to do that. So if you want to see your databases, all the databases in a particular SQL server, there are two options for this. First is you can click on this drop down at the top of the screen. But before we do this, you need to connect to the SQL Server Management Studio, or you need to connect to the SQL Server using the SQL Server Management Studio. And when you connect to the SQL Server, you will be able to see this window. So there are two options where you are able to see the databases or a list of databases. First is at the top. When you click on this drop down, you can see these all are databases that are there in the SQL Server. Some of these are system defined databases and some of these are user defined databases that we installed or we created in the previous chapter. And the other way to check all the available databases is through Object Explorer. So you just need to click on the Object Explorer and you need to expand the SQL Server instance that you are using, and then you need to expand the databases and you will see all the list of databases that are there in the SQL Server. Now suppose if I want to delete this first DB SSMS database, there are two ways to do this. So let's discuss how can we do it with the help of a SQL query. So all you have to do is write drop, then database, and then the database name. So I guess the database name was first DB SSMS. So you need to highlight this particular statement and then click on execute. But before clicking on execute, if you want to make sure that the syntax is correct, you can click on this parse option, and if it returns that the command completed successfully, that means that it is free from any errors, and then you can execute it. One of the shortcuts that I use in order to get rid of this results window is Control R. If you press Control R, you will be seeing the complete querying window. So you need to just highlight on this and click on execute, and the database would have been dropped. So let's check whether the database has been dropped or not. Again, we need to click on the drop down. So there is no database with the name of first DB SSMS. And also if you check here, so as I told in the previous chapter as well, you need to refresh it if you want to see the latest results, and you can see that the first DB SSMS database is no longer there or no longer present in the Object Explorer window. So this is how you drop the database. Now if you want to drop a table inside a database, the command will be exactly similar. Let's see how we can do it. So we just have to first of all see the tables or the user defined tables created in any of the databases. So you can see that in first DB SQL we have a table called first table SQL. So let's try to drop this table. So you saw what I did. You can in order to save you from writing the table name, what you can do is just highlight or select the table that you want to be included in your script and just drag it on top of the window, and the name would appear in the script. So let's copy it, and what we will do now is drop table, then table name. But before doing that, you need to select the correct databases, the database that holds this first table SQL. When we saw in Object Explorer, the table exists in a database called first DB SQL. So yes, so we are in the correct database. So if you don't want to select the database from the drop down, you can use the use command. You can simply write use, then the database name, and then go. So go will distinguish the use command and the drop command so that these commands are independent of each other. Now you need to highlight your code and then click on execute. So the first table SQL is dropped from the first DB SQL database. So in order to check it, again you have to refresh everything. If you refresh the SQL Server instance or the SQL Server node, that will refresh all the other things that are present inside the SQL Server instance name. So expand the databases now, and then expand the first DB SQL, and then expand the tables option. You see you don't have any user defined tables over here because you have just deleted the one that already existed. So this was dropping the databases and tables using a script. Now we can do the same process with the help of SSMS. Now let's first see how many databases we have. So if you want to delete a database, what you have to do is just select the database so that it gets highlighted, then right click on top of it, and then simply click on delete. When the delete window appears, you just have to confirm it by clicking on OK, and the database would drop. Again, you need to refresh it in order to get the latest status, and you can see the database named database is deleted and it's no longer there in the Object Explorer window. And you can check the same in the drop down window as well, in the drop down options as well. Now we will delete a table using the SSMS. But the thing over here is we don't have any tables left anymore. So what you need to do is you need to create a dummy table. Let's call that table as dummy, and it will have a single column of ID having the type int. So just highlight the statement and then click on execute. So the table would have been created. One thing I would like to add over here is, suppose you have created a table, then the only thing that you need to refresh is the tables node. But if you have created a database and if you want to see the database in the Object Explorer, you have to refresh the database node. But if you refresh the parent SQL Server instance node, everything would have been refreshed and you will be able to see the latest information in either of the databases or in either of the tables. So we'll expand the first DB SQL database, and then we'll expand the tables, and you can see that the table named dummy has been created. Now we want to delete this table using the SSMS. So as you did with the case of database, you have to do the same with the tables as well. So right click on top of the tables and then left click the refresh. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. Right click on top of the table name and then just click on delete. The delete window will appear. Click on OK and the table will be deleted. So you can see as soon as we hit the delete command, the table disappeared from the tables node. So this is how you delete a table using a SQL query and SSMS. Now let's move on to the next part of DML statements,